Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching Today I Found Out, and in the video today, the curious case of the lead mask deaths. On August the 21st, 1966, after receiving a tip of dead bodies high on a rugged hill in southeastern Brazil, authorities discovered two formally dressed male corpses in waterproof coats, partly covered with grass, and each wearing eye masks made of lead. The young men bore no obvious signs of trauma, and there was no evidence of struggle or immediately apparent cause of death. So what happened to these men? Miguel Jose Viana and Manuel Pereira de Cruz were respectable citizens with young families who worked together as electronics technicians. They lived and worked in the town of Campos dos Goyatazes near Rio de Janeiro. On August 17, 1966, the two set out ostensibly to gather electronic supplies for their work, and at 2:30 p.m. they got on a bus to a nearby town. At this town, they purchased water from a bar and raincoats from a shop. Witnesses later claimed that Miguel seemed very nervous and frequently checked his watch. The pair set off up the town Niedros Hill, Maro de Vidni, at about 3:15 p.m., and by some accounts, they hitched a ride in a jeep. At 5 p.m., a local boy, Jorge de Costas Alves, saw them higher up the hill. According to reports, the boy returned to the hill the next day and saw the men lying on the ground. He assumed they were asleep. When he returned 2 days later, the hill had a putrid smell, and the boy returned to the town and reported it. Venturing up the hill the next day, police found the dead men as previously described, and near them was an empty bottle of mineral water, 2 wet towels, and a notebook with various notations, including, translated from Portuguese, 4:30, be at the specified location, 6:30, ingest capsules. After the effect, protect metals, await signal mask. The men had receipts for the raincoats and the water bottle and a small amount of money on them. According to the mystery, in addition to the cryptic note, the notebook also had a list of electronic part numbers, which some had speculated were encrypted codes, though the evidence at hand appears that they were just simply part of numbers used by the men over the course of their day job. Despite the note talking about capsules, the police found none, presumably indicating if they existed, the men had consumed them. Unfortunately, or more like fortunately for those who argue about a supernatural cause of death, no toxicology tests were done on the men, so people don't know what they ingested. The cause of death, however, it was determined to be cardiac failure. During their investigation, police spoke with Elcio Gomez, a friend of Miguel and Manuel, who told them that they were all part of a group of scientific spiritualists. This group comprised nearly all electronic specialists in the district who experimented in various ways. For example, 2 months before Miguel and Manuel perished, they and Elicio had built some type of device in Manuel's garden in an attempt to contact Mars. They were unsuccessful, and the device exploded by accident. The event was corroborated by Manuel's father and others. They reported they'd seen the experiment, as well as a similar but more spectacular event on June 13, 1966. Here, numerous witnesses reported an explosion on the beach in Espírito Santo, the state just northeast of Rio de Janeiro, that rocked buildings as far as 15 kilometers away. Local fishermen also witnessed the event, and they reported that a flying saucer was seen to fall into the sea. Elcio spoke of the event to investigators, and he claimed that it followed an intentional meeting between members of the spiritualist group and a UFO. He claimed that after the UFO visited with them for about 5 minutes, it left with a blinding flash and a large explosion. In any event, when investigators searched Miguel's workshop, they found tools and lead scraps which were used to make the masks. These masks were, in truth, actually more like eye covers that were crudely cut from thin sheets of lead, leaving the rest of the face exposed. They also found a book with passages about intense luminosity highlighted, presumably being the reason the pair wore the lead eye shields. Authorities also determined that the handwriting on the cryptic message found at the scene of their deaths belonged to neither Miguel or Manuel. Rejecting the supernatural theories put forth by Elcio and other locals, police floated the possibility that Miguel and Manuel were involved with smuggling electronics equipment, which had been difficult to come by in Brazil at that time. Another commonly touted explanation was that the pair had overdosed after taking an illicit drug in order to make better contact with the spirits, and many suggested the two took acid. This theory was supported by a Brazilian, to quote, professor of yoga, who opined to the Folha de Sao Paulo, the men may have been trying to carry out a telepathic experiment with high-frequency thought waves with LSD-25 or mescaline. However, deaths from LSD are extremely rare, and when they do occur, it's usually when it's taken with alcohol, triggering a heart heart attack, stroke, or respiratory failure. There is no evidence that the men were drinking anything but water at or before their deaths. Nonetheless, the UFO hypothesis wouldn't die, particularly given the number of witnesses to the alleged UFO event. These included society maven Senhora Gracinda Barbosa Coutinho de Souza and her children, who reported that on August 17, 1966, they had seen an oval-shaped object of an orangey color with a band of fire around its edges, sending out rays in all directions, hanging over the tops of Morro de Vintém. According to de Souza, the object rose and fell vertically for some 3 or 4 minutes. Finally, you should know that Miguel and Manuel were not the only male technicians to die on a rugged hilltop in Brazil in the 1960s. In 1962, a television technician named Hermes was reported to have been found dead on Morro de Cruzeiro, also in the state of Rio de Janeiro. A lead mask was found near Hermes' body as well. In the end, it seems likely that whatever was in the consumed capsules probably caused the men's deaths. Whether intentionally or not, though, that isn't clear. Given the fact that they bought raincoats, it was raining when they did, gives the impression that they weren't going to that hill to die, otherwise why would they buy raincoats? They probably wouldn't mind if they were going to get wet. As for the lead masks, these appear to simply have been there in order to shield their eyes from the intense luminosity from the spirits that they were hoping to see. So I really hope that you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button below, and do not forget to subscribe. Brand new videos just like this every day of the week. Also, if you'd like to support us, we have a Patreon. You can find it at patreon.com/TodayIFoundOut. People who contribute to that help us in making these daily videos and bringing brand new content to you 7 days a week. So please go check out our Patreon. And as always, thank you for watching.